when you go to an event, right? The first tip really is to turn up 5 minutes earlier than when it actually kicks off. And the reason why that is because then you've got the chance to actually have a bit of small talk with the early arrivals. So let's just say it's a birthday party. You get handed where the location is, you go down there, get yourself comfortable, get yourself a drink. You're the first one there. And then naturally, people are going to start going, oh, are you here for James's birthday? Or are you here for something, whatever it is? Right, cool. So now you've broke the ice, right? You've got yourself out of your head about the possibility of, not knowing anyone the whole night. You've got someone. Small talk them, get to know them, build rapport. And again, the cycle keeps on continuing. Someone new comes to the group, get into the habit, stand up, introduce yourself, right? Get their name, a little bit of small talk. This is a far better approach than coming late, not really knowing anyone, and then trying to like hang around the host all night, like just holding on to their leg and they can't shake you off because you don't know anyone, right? uh, so that's the first point. Arrive earlier. And as the night goes on, the simple thing to say is, how do you know such and such? So how do you know the host? It's such an obvious thing to say. You know, no one's going to respond badly to it. It's so easy, right? Now, when you start building rapport with these people, I think it's important to have a few. I mean, in the old days we used to call it a DHV, display high value, right? But a story that conveys value of some sort, an interesting story about yourself. You know, of course you can. Yeah, we speak about what you do. That's always going to come up. But is there an interesting story within what you do? Is something funny happened at work? Is there a crazy sort of person that you met recently or something? Something that may inject humor, something that may inject relatability. It might be an accolade, an award or something like that. So they can instantly see you as someone of value. One thing to be careful of is to always not to hog the conversation, right? It's not a look at me campaign. So when you feel like you've done your bit, acknowledge that and go, wait a minute, what about you guys? Right? And equally give them the space to share a bit about themselves, take interest. If you've if you've watched the video on here of next level conversations, the structure of conversation is in there, right? So we're looking about that relate and challenge mechanisms, right? If you want to, go over and take another look at that, just review that bit. Those are the mechanisms in the conversation structure that are going to help you gain deep rapport. Now, in regards to how you engage with the common person of the group, the host or whatever, as I said earlier, you don't want to be the person that's leeching onto them all night. So, but what you can do when they are in group discussion with people that you haven't spoke to, just shimmy over and just kind of include yourself in the here and out of what is being spoken about and simply say, oh, what are you guys talking about? But that phrase right there has come so naturally to me that I actually didn't even think of it as a useful thing to share with everyone I was teaching. Because the consequence of not saying that, you're just standing there like a lemon, just nodding your, just sort of looking and not contributing. But if you say that, oh, what are we talking about? Then the talking point gets recycled, and then suddenly it's more inclusive. Also, as well, if you go pivot back over to the host at some point, if they're socially aware, if they're socially aware and know that you probably don't know many people, they'll make effort to introduce you to more people, like to that are around them. So that's effective. it's important to social snowball, like with these sort of environments, that how do you know such and such is just going to be the common thing you say. And you know what? Like everyone there doesn't know that you don't know anyone else. So there might be some attraction, the byproduct of this behavior, there might be some attraction that is building up. You look socially confident, you're moving around, you're shaking hands. They don't know that you were there earlier, and people are sort of giving you the nod and shaking hands with you and talking to you. So what actually happens in these sort of scenarios is there'll be women there that are looking in and they start to get curious. Now, you can do this deliberately by design. It's proven to work so many times. The woman that you find attractive there, don't beeline for her. In actual fact, leave the interaction more towards the end. Because you think about it, if you're a woman of such beauty, she's used to guys hitting on her. She's used to guys going for her straight away. But throughout this whole event, you've just snowballed socially, created interesting conversations. She may have heard from an earshot of these status conversations that you've been sharing, and she's begun to get intrigued. So when it becomes her turn, her turn to get to know you, her guard's going to be completely down. She's going to be super curious, super intrigued, and you've got an opportunity there to really accelerate, your attraction with her. And I would go as far to say you could even leave that interaction right until the end deliberately when you know the event is winding down. So you're playing on the element of scarcity, like, oh, we haven't got much time. I tell you, do you fancy a drink? And then bounce them out of here. We actually call that a state breaker. A state breaker is where you move them from one place to another, where it be a venue, a different place in the venue, and it gives the experience of making them feel like they've spent more time with you than they actually have. And something else that I would say, which is effective in conversation, is seeding out where they live. I mean, I think that's such an obvious move when you're going, oh, where do you live? And they're going, oh, what about you? You're trying to seed out like, oh, is it convenient for us to maybe see each other? Like that is what is going on in that share of information. And of course, if it is of convenience, sure, you could ask if they fancy a drink, or, oh, where do you live? Oh, I tell you what, I got a cab. Let me get you a ride home. And maybe that isolated situation is an opportunity to intimately accelerate things, or again, take them over to a venue and then back to yours.